it looks like a stalker, doesn't it? Problems like that are dealt with by the chief himself. So Putin was there, and he let himself. He asked for all the explanations, and then Novosti had an item. The Russians are very pragmatic when they have a problem. In this case, the problem was that there were corpses to be dealt with, so the people cleaning up needed to be cheered up a bit, and some alcohol was organized and given out so that people would be able to carry on.
Okay, that's not 100% correct. That was for the burying. So Putin, he doesn't really have a nice job. Sometimes he has to relax, and the problems he may have in his spare time is to drive some electric cars. Even in Russia, they are about new technology and environmental protection. And if you look like James Bond, you don't really want to drive one of those cars, at least a bigger one. And if the woman would shut up for a change, that would also not be bad. But Putin needs his spare time, and then he goes like chase some monsters in Loch Ness.
Gerüchte halber waren die Tiger alle.
There are some rumors that the
Wie es halt so ist als Staatsspionage, so richtig so, und dann ruft dann immer noch einer an so und dann.
So somebody would call, and they would call from Norway, and Putin, hey, what the hell is going on up here? What happened there? What went wrong with these folks? And this is actually a picture. This is not photoshopped. This is an actual picture of what it looked like over the sky of Norway. Oh my God, the UFOs! But what it was in fact was the 9th failed Russian intercontinental rocket failure. And if it fails for the 9th time, then also the fun goes down.
Glaube ich dir nicht noch einmal.
I believe this is the not one more time. From now on, it will work. So we looked at those intercontinental records, and we figured out it's a typical failure case. That's exactly what it looks like. We found another one that looks like that, and now the interesting fact about that was that there was a message on the news that a nuclear rocket, there is a Fogbank is a material that's being used in those things. And according to everything we know about it, you need some stuff called aerogel, and that's the substance you see underneath that stone, which is also named frozen smoke. And that stuff is apparently being used between the first and the second phase of an H2O bomb. So the neutrons can pass as they're supposed to. And Fogbank was empty, was gone. There was no plant anymore to produce that stuff. And creating a new one, a new plant, would be 100 million. So, and it's also, this plant is in the United States, and they don't really know how to make that. And the Americans don't really have any interest in doing much more of that stuff. So the Trident bombs go out of service soon, and they don't really want to build it again because that's really horrible chemical stuff that they use. And the new plant that they're building, they are building it on a border of a military installation, and they said that in the congressional hearings, can we not do it any other way? No, we can't. Oh well, then we're out of luck.
Okay. A few more bizarre events from the world of the atom. Tridents are actually launched from the ground. And we were thinking, what the heck's wrong with this year? There was a French and a British submarine in the North Atlantic. Not that small of a sea, but they collided. So, and both had live nuclear missiles on board. And both are themselves propelled by nuclear energy so that they are nice and quiet and not make any sounds by which they can be located. that was a really expensive thing, and then the sonar of the French was damaged, was just a measly 50 million damage. So unfortunate circumstances like this, there were a few of. A really bizarre one was the collision of Iridium-33 in the Cosmos 2251. And Iridium, that's a global-based satellite phone system built by Motorola, then bought by the US military. A super deal. And if you look at the image there of those two orbits, this is really unlikely for them to meet. So the funny thing about the story was how they actually denied everything at first. Russians said, we haven't seen any satellite crash, and then they said, okay, well, they said this is probably a military satellite, they don't want to admit it, or it was an anti-satellite weapon that was tested. Most bizarre theories, but the one thing that wasn't explained was why NORAD was not involved and didn't know, because it would have been their job to know, and they can move satellites around to prevent this from happening. So we haven't got a nice graphic for this, but interestingly, the debris orbits, which are created as soon as one of these things disintegrates and basically move on in the same, roughly in the same way, at the same speed. That's the thing you really don't want to pass through. As we were talking about submarines, the thing that's a bit difficult is if you keep your ships with old technology and at some time the technology is really outdated and you have to upgrade. So what do you do? Is there a Windows for submarines? So when Configure came about, several ships were grounded. The Royal Navy for a few days stepped ashore. French Air Force had and the German one, well, that's understandable, that's to be expected, had a few outages.
Well, these are worms. We were asking ourselves how to illustrate worms, so it's Klingon. Reliability is a problem, especially in the military. Well, it could explode, so you should actually pay some attention to the quality. There are two stories concerning that. So, two big drones that actually were carrying armed live weapons. So what you see here is the console of an operator. Pay attention to the high-tech trackball and the other high-tech equipment here. So we were looking for an illustration, and yes, we did find a screenshot from the system. So there's one drone that just continued to fly around and shot 5 people. In the press release, they said, well, these were terrorists. So the drone just shot 5 people. Nobody wanted to shoot them, but these were terrorists. And there was another drone that just zeroed its own memory in flight. So there was another one that just continued flying towards Pakistan at a time where the Pakistanis were very, very unhappy because of all the drones, and they also have nuclear weapons. So they did have to send an F-16 to shoot their own drone because nobody knew what would happen. So we illustrated here how this is going to continue.
Yeah, so with the army there's also proper military, not only console military people, so we illustrated what an army looks like, exactly like this, and the Bundeswehr, the German, that's what the German Bundeswehr looks like. It's German weapons. and they also stay stuck in the mud. That's, by the way, an official Bundeswehr picture. I thought that was very, very funny, but that also happens to the best of the best